Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to talk about the role of the back leg on the serve, and let's get right into it. So on the serve, the back leg is very important, and it's mainly there to supply rhythm to the serve. And let me show you what that looks like. So on the serve, you're going to start by shifting the weight onto your front foot. This is very important. You can bounce the ball inside the court, and then you can connect the racket and the ball together inside the court preferably. And while you do this, the weight has to be on your front foot. Now from here, you are going to shift the weight onto the back foot. This is what's referred to as the rocking motion. So you're going to go from the front foot to the back foot. Now when you do this, there's a couple of options. Option number one is that you can lift the tip of your front foot up into the air and just keep the heel on the ground. And option is number two, you can do the Sampras technique where you put your hip back a little bit. This is gonna make the rocking motion even more effective. So let's go through it again. We're gonna be on the front foot, we're gonna bounce the ball inside the court, connect the ball and the racket together. Now we're shifting the weight onto the back foot, and here's where all the confusion starts. So a lot of players think that you actually accelerate from the back foot, and it's very confusing. I'm going to clear it up in today's video. So yes, you are shifting the weight from the back foot onto the front foot. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So now when I start going forward, I'm going to initiate my toss and start going towards my front foot. So yes, I'm using this weight transfer from back to front, but it's happening while I'm tossing the ball. There's going to be some stylistic variations at the professional level when the weight transfer towards the front foot begins. So some players will shift the weight towards the front foot at the initiation of the toss. Other players will wait a little bit longer. So they will stay on the back foot, toss the ball, and then close to the release, they will start shifting the weight forward. However, all professional players will have the weight shifted towards the front foot when the ball has been released. And the reason why is that all players will toss the ball inside the court. Now some will do this less than others, but what happens when the toss is inside the court is that naturally the body will start leaning towards that ball that's inside the baseline. And this is what I call forward momentum. It's one of the easiest ways to get power on the serve. And actually the rocking motion, specifically the back leg, can actually help with forward momentum. So all you have to do is go through the rhythm that I just described, where you go front foot, then you go onto the back foot, and now you're going to toss the ball in front and then just shift all your weight forward. It will naturally start going into the court. See, I hit this serve kind of lightly, and yet my whole body weight went into the contact, ended up going forward, which provided me with more power. And here's where a lot of players get frustrated when it comes to the back leg, and they try to load the back foot in the trophy phase of the serve. So when they're about to accelerate, they are trying to get all the weight onto the back foot and they try to accelerate from the back foot. Some players have told me they imagine like doing a shot put, loading everything on this back leg and then going up towards the contact. And one player in particular had tried to do this for a year and he couldn't feel the pressure on the back leg, and he came to me for a lesson and he was very frustrated and asked for my help. And I told him, you can do this for another year or 2 years, you will never be able to load the back leg if you keep throwing the ball inside the baseline. The only way you can load the back foot on the serve if you end up throwing the ball behind the baseline. And why is that? I previously explained that when we throw the ball inside the baseline, we are slightly leaning forward. And then when we throw the ball behind the baseline, then in fact, if it's somewhere around here, we can load this back leg and accelerate from here. Now the problem is that when you throw the ball behind the baseline, you have almost zero chance to get the ball inside the service box. This is one of the worst things you can do. In fact, it is the #1 contributor to the serve going long when you end up throwing the ball behind your head. So with this particular student, I presented him with the research, and I've made 2 videos on the leg drive, and I explain this in great detail, which basically is the fact that all professional players will have the back foot come off the ground first. Now why is that? Because they are all leaning forward, they're all putting more pressure on that front foot because they're all throwing the ball inside the baseline. In fact, some of the greatest servers ever, like Guy Forget and Venus Williams, they kind of serve off of one leg. Guy Forget didn't even set the back foot down, and Venus Williams has very little pressure on that back foot when she is in the loading phase. The same goes for John Isner and Goran Ivanišević. Now these are some of the best servers in the history of the game. And when I presented my student with this information, he understood that there's nothing wrong with feeling more pressure on that front leg. There's nothing wrong with throwing the ball more inside the baseline. And what he started doing was simply not even think about the legs, because most of this stuff will happen naturally. So when you throw the ball inside the baseline, you go through the rhythm that I previously explained, naturally the weight will start shifting onto the front foot, and you don't really have to force this. On the other hand, if you're trying to make something happen from that back leg, you will have a very difficult time doing so, and it will cause adverse effects to your serve. And here's the proof that you can't load the back leg when you're leaning forward on the serve. Grab the fence with your dominant arm, put your non-dominant arm up in the air, and now simply lean forward. Now you don't have to have an extreme lean like this, it's a slight leaning forward that would mimic the trophy phase. What you will feel is that when you do this, the slight leaning forward, is that most of the pressure is going to be on the front foot. So if you try to put the pressure on the back foot, you just simply can't. Your center of gravity has changed. Now all of a sudden you're leaning forward. It's not here anymore. So naturally all the body weight is shifting forward. Now we are balancing some of this out by having our toss arm vertical to the ground possibly. Maybe we're going to even put the hip slightly in to give us a little bit more balance. But still, all the weight is going to be absorbed by that front foot. You can simply feel this when you do this exercise. The only way you will be able to put pressure on the back leg is if you lifted the front foot off the ground. Now the weight is on the back leg, but once you set that front foot on the ground naturally, most of the pressure is transferred towards the front foot. And I know what some of you guys are thinking, why don't I just lift the front foot up in the air and serve off the back foot? Now this is going to be absolutely impossible because you won't be able to balance your body. Let me try it out. So now I'm going to load that back foot, lift the front foot in the air, and I'm unable to balance my body. This is not a good serve. Also, I will add that it's not optimal to serve off the front foot either. Yes, there has been some players, like I previously mentioned, G4J, who have served off of one leg. This is something that I do correct when I see it on my players. There is an advantage to having both feet on the ground, even though more of the weight is towards the front foot, but having both feet on the ground will provide you with much needed stability in the trophy phase of your serve. Now, some of the greatest rocking motions in the history of serving are Boris Becker and Pete Sampras. So you guys sure remember Boris Becker with this crazy rocking motion where it was going like this, and he would go towards the end of the serve a little bit slower like this, and then this. So that helped him get into his loading position, and it helped him generate more power. My personal favorite is Pete Sampras, and it is something that I did try to copy, getting my hip a little bit more back on that second stage of the rocking motion. So let me try that and demonstrate it for you guys. So this is the Pete Sampras serve. He used to go forward, and now he used to connect the racket and the ball while popping his hip out like this. The ball and the racket would be kind of high, the tip of the front foot would go up, and the weight would be on the back foot while the hip is back. I'm sure he had the feet a little bit more apart, so he was like this, and now he would start transferring the weight forward as he initiated the toss, and he would get great forward momentum and great acceleration on his serve. Let me try it again. Here's the Pete Sampras serve. Now you don't have to copy this particular thing from Sampras. This is just his own individual thing that he likes doing. Keep your own style on the serve, but what you should definitely copy from all the top players, especially Sampras, is that rocking motion, which will provide you with more forward momentum. Now, the thing that you shouldn't do is try to load the back foot in the trophy phase. This is, first of all, not possible unless the ball is thrown behind the baseline, which is something you don't want to do. And do not waste your time. Simply don't think of your legs, go through your rhythm, and you will effortlessly generate forward momentum while the front foot is naturally going to be loaded in the trophy phase of your serve.